Hello guys. For your IGAMEC or Introduction to Game Concepts Module 2, our topics is regarding gaming platforms. So for the objectives at the end of the lesson, students should be able to learn the different types of gaming platforms, learn about the history and modern day gaming platform components and peripherals, learn the top game development companies in the market. So first, video games. Video games, any of various games played using a specialized electronic gaming device, or a computer or mobile device, and a television or other display screen along with a means to control graphic images. So any of various games played using a microchip control device as an arcade machine or a handheld toy. So for the gaming platforms, what are gaming platforms? So basically gaming platforms are what are the different types of devices that you're using in order for you to play games? Okay, so a computer system specially made for playing games. Okay, so the definition mostly fits consoles. Okay, so basically consoles are specialized electronic devices specially made for playing video games. Okay, so that will be one of the gaming platforms. Aside from that, we also have the personal computer or the PC games. Okay, so this type of games are the games that you're going to play using a personal computer or a laptop. Okay, so this is the second type of our gaming platform, and the third one will be the mobile. So meaning these games are playable using your mobile phones. Okay, so regarding games, okay, some of the games are cross-platform within these three. Okay, so meaning that a game can possibly be played using consoles or a personal computer or a mobile phone. So some of the games will have versions for each of these gaming platforms. Okay, so let's say for example PUBG or Player Unknown Battlegrounds. Okay, so we'll have a version for PC and we'll also have a version for mobile. So this is what we call a cross-platform game. So let's start with consoles. So what is a console? A console is a computer system specially made for playing games by connecting it to a television or other display for video and sound. Okay, so for consoles, you'll be requiring the console plus a display output. Okay, meaning you'll be needing a television to hook up to your gaming console. So it could be a television or it could be a monitor. Okay. Next. So these are some of the examples under console games. So we have The Last of Us Part 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, Resident Evil 2, Forza Horizon 4, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Doom Eternal, Street of Rage 4. So as I mentioned earlier, some of games are cross-platform. Meaning guys, some of these games can be played via PC or can be played via consoles. Okay? So next, let's have a short history or a brief history of consoles. So first, we have the Atari 2600 that was produced in 1977. It introduced microprocessor-based hardware, utilized game cartridges, okay? So allowed unlimited games to be written for the console rather than having to have games hard-coded into the console. So what are cartridges? So cartridges are basically hardware where we store your games and that can be plugged in using or can be plugged in onto your gaming consoles. Now, so latter versions of consoles will have CDs or DVDs as equivalent to the previous cartridges that was used using console. So cartridges will be plugged in onto your console in order for you to play the game. So if you want to play other games, all you need to do is to get some game cartridge and plug in onto your console. So this type of console uses simple 2D graphics, work by processing the pixel and sprites needed to be displayed before next line of television was scanned. So for the specs, guys, so here is a overview of the specs for the Atari 2600. For its CPU, it only has 1.19 megahertz of speed. RAM is 128 bytes and ROM or its storage capacity is only 4 kilobytes. So as you can see, this is a very low spec console, but you'll need to consider that this console was made during the 1970s. Okay. Next, we also have your Nintendo Entertainment System, or your NES, that was produced starting 1983. So, also utilize game cartridges, okay? So, lack any sort of authentication hardware to prevent unlicensed cartridges from working on the system. So, this was due to the unreliable 10 NES authentication chip used in the console. So, the circuit ended up being removed from the console with the introduction of NES 2. Okay, so when we say it lacks any sort of authentication, meaning you can plug in fake or counterfeited game cartridges using this console. So even though if it's just a copy, you'll be able to play those cartridge using this console. So early games were designed by using LEDs on the grid with a digitizer, as no design tools existed. So for the specs, for the CPU, it only has 1.79 megahertz of processor speed. For the RAM, it has 16 kilobytes. For video RAM, it's 16 kilobytes also, and the max cartridge size will be 192 kilobytes. Next, so we have your Sony PlayStation from 1994. So this is one of the earliest versions of the PlayStation that was released to the public. So the current version of this Sony PlayStation will be Sony PlayStation 5. So this is the predecessor 5 generations ago. So this was Sony's major contribution to the gaming console world. So made use of CD-ROM instead of using the older game cartridges. Okay, so you'll see the circular part of the gaming console is where your CDs or CD-ROM will be installed. Okay, so it introduced external storage in the form of 1 megabyte or 1 MB memory cards to save your game data. So previously, you're saving your data, okay, onto those game cartridges. So now, you can save them using your memory card. So this console also introduced true three-dimensional games, so that were popular now with the increased hardware capacity. So this is the specs overview. So for the CPU, it's 33.8688 megahertz. For the RAM, it's 2 MB, and for the storage is 1 MB for each of your memory cards. Then we have the second iteration for the Sony PlayStation 2 that was released starting in the 2000s. So built along the same lines as the PlayStation 1, but time allowed for a large increase in hardware capacity. So allowed much higher quality in graphics and games. Implemented backwards compatibility with PlayStation games. So what does that backward compatibility means? Meaning games that were designed for PlayStation 1 will also be compatible or can be played using Sony PlayStation 2 console. Okay? So if you have games from the earlier version of Sony PlayStation 1, you can still play them here on your Sony PlayStation 2. So at this point, is where we start seeing the major increase in hardware technology compared to PS1 or PlayStation 1. So the PS2 included the following. So around 30 times the CPU speed from the earlier version, which is the PlayStation 1. So 16 times more RAM and a dedicated graphics chip. Okay? So previous versions of or the Sony PlayStation 1 will have graphics built in onto the processor. So for PlayStation 2, it will have a dedicated graphics or separate graphics chip for the processing of the graphics of your game. So this is the overview of the specs. So for the CPU, we have 294 megahertz, RAM is 32 MB, graphics is 147 megahertz, and for the storage, you'll have 8 MB cards and 4 GB hardware drive add-ons. Okay, and for connectivity, it will be having a 100 megabit Ethernet. So it was capable of connecting to the internet. Then we have your Microsoft Xbox 360 that was released starting in 2005. So start to see a very rapid increase in technology at this generation of consoles. So the focus of the console merges with other form of entertainment other than just gaming. So apps for streaming videos, music, news, and much more. So meaning, aside from gaming, it will be having additional features, okay, as we've mentioned. So it also introduced two high definition games. So developers start focusing on realism more and more. So as you can see, guys, this is a much better uh, gaming console as compared to the Atari and the NES that was previously mentioned in our discussion. Okay, so this is the overview for the specs for your Xbox 360. For the CPU, it's 3.2 gigahertz. For the RAM, it's 512 MB. So graphics is 500 megahertz. For the storage is 250 hard drive, and for the connectivity is 100 megabit Ethernet. Or you can also connect it via Wi-Fi using 2.5 gigahertz wireless. Then we have your Microsoft Xbox One 2013, so the current generation or of consoles. But Microsoft Xbox currently released the Xbox X series a few months ago. So for Microsoft Xbox One acts much more as an all-around home entertainment system. So multitasking with all kinds of apps and games. So OS integrates fluidly with Windows 8, much more similar to a personal computer than to a gaming console. Okay? Development of the Kinect sensor for the Xbox has been helpful in other fields of research using any kind of recognition software. So for the overview, for the CPU, it's 1.75 gigahertz 8 cores. So RAM is 8 GB. For the graphics is 856 megahertz. Storage is around 500 GB hard drive. For the connectivity, it uses Ethernet or wireless connectivity. Okay. So here we have a summary of analysis for the hardware of the different gaming consoles that were released starting from 1997 up to 2013. So as you can see, as the years progress, the specifications also progress according to the release of the gaming consoles. Okay, so as you can see, there will be a dip from the Xbox 360, okay, going to Xbox One. So basically, yes, it's a dip for the CPU speed, but you'll have to remember that for Xbox One, it has 8 cores. Okay, so it will be 8 more cores as compared to the previous Xbox 360. So for the RAM by console, so as you can see, there will be a big jump, okay, from Xbox 360 to Xbox One. So there is less than a gig of RAM for your Xbox 360. And for your Xbox One, it will be having 8 gigs of RAM. Okay? So, next, a storage by console. So, there will also be a big jump starting from your PlayStation 2, okay, up to your Xbox One. So, for your Xbox One, you will currently have 500 GB of storage. And for the newest versions of your Xbox, which is the Xbox Series X and your PlayStation 5, they'll be having at least 2 terabytes of storage. So I won't be including them in here because we already cited your PlayStation 5 and your Xbox Series X from the previous PowerPoint. Next, let's proceed with PC gaming. So this is the second gaming platform that we have. So first, let's start with a personal computer. So what is a personal computer? So it is a general purpose, cost-effective computer that is designed to be used by a single end user. So every PC is dependent on microprocessor technology, which allows PC makers to set the CPU or your central processing unit on a single chip. Okay? So now, what is PC game? So basically, PC games is a type of video game played on a personal computer rather than on a video game console or arcade machine. Its defining characteristics will be more diverse and user-determined gaming hardwares and softwares and generally capacity in input processing video and audio. So let's have a brief differentiation between your gaming consoles and your PC games or your personal computers. So for your consoles, they were as it is. when you buy them. So you can only upgrade maybe your storage, but you can change the processor or the graphics. Meaning that if you buy this console, this performance will be relatively fixed. Okay, you can't upgrade any of the components. So if you want to have an upgrade on the performance, what you're going to do is you need to replace the whole console. Okay, you can upgrade. So let's say you can upgrade from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 in order for you to have an upgrade on the performance of your console. But as compared to a personal computer, if you'll be using it for gaming, if you want to increase the performance and the capacity of your personal computer, what you can do is just upgrade, okay, a component or two or three components in order for you to have an upgrade in performance. Okay, so that would be an example. And also, nowadays you can also play console games using personal computers using emulators. Okay, in overall productivity, I think PC games or PC or personal computer will come on top of console games. So next, we have some examples of PC games. Okay, so this will be your Cyberpunk 2077, Fortnite, Valorant, Doom Eternal, Outer Wilds, Warframe, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and of course, the infamous World of Warcraft. So now, we'll be having a brief history of PCs and PC games. So in here, we'll be covering a lot of topics regarding different components, the history of components, and history of some games that are famous now. So first, Space War. So we have mentioned this Space War earlier from our module 1. So Space War came out in 1962. It is considered as the first PC game ever made. So it was made to test out the capabilities of the first PDP-1, an early gaming computer. So that will be this one, this image in here. Okay, so this is your PDP-1. It was created at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology by Stephen Russell. Okay, next. In 1970s, game creator Atari began early line of computers and IBM was thinking about buying them. So to counter, they decided to just create their own computer since it was more feasible. So the market was still relatively small and IBM wanted to make a computer that appealed to everyone. So IBM produced this computer. So what is this? So first, let's have Project Chess. Project Chess was the name of the top secret project IBM was plotting to create their new computer. So IBM representatives met up with Bill Gates for the first time in 1980s to write the operating system script for their computer codenamed Acorn. So IBM was the first company to use the term PC or personal computer. Today, all Windows and Linux-based computers are known PCs. Okay? Some upgrades were an optional monitor, floppy drives, and random access memory. Next, in the early 90s, games like Doom or first-person shooter just came out. So for the first time, gamers were able to be the character. So what does first-person shooter mean? So this is a type of shooter game where your point of view is in first person, meaning you're seeing the game as if you are the playable character within the game. So another popular game was Warcraft, a strategy game. So this is the earlier version of Warcraft. I believe this is Warcraft 1. Okay, so many of you guys are familiar with Dota. Okay, so Dota was a map or a mod from the game Warcraft 3. So just a short history regarding Warcraft and Dota. So for Windows, in 1995, Windows came out. Okay, it helped boost PC gaming out of the niche market into mainstream industry. So developers included DirectX, which allowed Windows to run high-performance games. So DirectX became the standard for all games and guided hardware advances. So this made Windows the main gaming platform. And as of the moment, that also serves as true. Okay? So it's much more easier to find games on Windows platform as compared to the Mac platform and especially to Linux platform. Most of the time, games are only released in the Windows platform. Next, we have a brief history regarding your graphics card. So, graphics card is basically a component in your computer that produces the output on your monitor. So particularly, it is used to output the display for your games. So graphics card play PC games and are known as the graphics processing unit. So they were not really required until Windows 95 came out. So games were becoming more demanding. So a separate piece of hardware was required to run them. Okay, so the company 3DFX was the dominant GPU maker until in 1999. So then came along NVIDIA. So in 1999, NVIDIA released their GeForce series of GPUs. So quickly, 3DFX was blown away by the competition and became bankrupt. The new GeForce 2 blew away the rivals by having great performance with an affordable price. So it shipped with 64 MBs of RAM and 4 pixel pipelines. GPU RAMs and computer RAMs are totally different. So GPU RAM is solely dedicated to the game or 3D application that is running. So if you guys are planning to build a personal computer that you'll be using for games, make sure that you know what type of graphics card you'll be using. Okay, this is one of the major components that you'll be needing in order for you to play triple A games or double A games on your personal computers. And the game begins. So NVIDIA reigns of the graphics card market was short-lived. So a newcomer, ATI, whipped out their own cards with comparable prices. So they countered the GeForce series with their own Radeon line. So their flagship card was the 7200 with 2 pixel pipeline and 64 MB of RAM. So this was the beginning of the graphics card wars. And currently, ATI is absorbed by AMD. Okay. So the CPU wars. So in the 2000, for the first time in 5 years, Intel released a new line of microprocessors, their Pentium 4 line. So some of you will still be familiar with Pentium 4. The fastest was a 32-bit CPU or central processing unit that ran at 1.5 gigahertz. Guys, just remember, Pentium 4 was launched in the 2000. So if you'll be comparing the Pentium line to modern processors nowadays, yes, it will be a lot slower. But this was the fastest processor way back in 2000s. So a rival company, AMD, came out with the AMD Athlon series of CPUs. So in the year 2000, Windows XP was released. NVIDIA released a complete GeForce line. The one-stop of the line GeForce 2 became a budget. A GeForce 3 became mid-range, and the GeForce 4 was top of the line. ATI released their graphics, their Radeon 8500 with an R200 core. So what are the games? Or here are some of the games of the 2002. So the beginning of successful 3D strategy games, okay, like this. So this is a screenshot of your Warcraft 3. So this could be an example, or this is an example of your 3D strategy game. So the Return of Warcraft in its third version is in full 3D as compared to the initial versions of Warcraft. So Microsoft created their own strategy game called the Age of Mythology to compete. So ATI takes the lead. In 2002, ATI releases the Radeon 9700. So it beats NVIDIA by months, giving ATI the lead. So to compete, NVIDIA ended up rushing and releasing their card that overheated. So ATI beat NVIDIA by performance and price at this year, 2002. So for the 2003, ATI continued to dominate NVIDIA. ATI released their 9800 Pro. NVIDIA released their 5900. So during September, AMD released the world's first Windows-compatible 64-bit processor. So 64-bit processors were only released in starting 2003. So we have photorealistic shooters. So in 2004, it was a legendary year for the shooters. So the highly anticipated Doom 3 and Half-Life 2 were released. So Doom was optimized for NVIDIA and Half-Life was for ATI. So some games joke about Doom 3 required a computer that cost as much a car since it required serious computing power. So this type of games, guys, will be requiring a lot of resources. That could be your CPU processes and GPU processes way back in 2004. So CPUs in 2004, AMD kept on making their 64-bit line better and faster. So a new socket was released and forced games to upgrade if they wanted the best performance. Intel created a new dual-core CPU and released a 3.5 GHz chip. Then we have MMORPG. So what is MMORPG? So MMORPG, or massively multi-online player role-playing game, have been around like EverQuest, but only boomed in 2005. So the release of a free MMORPG called Guild Wars draw in many gamers. So World of Warcraft was released, introducing many players to online gaming. MMORPGs allowed millions of players all over the world game together doing missions and contests. So some of the famous MMORPGs that were available to the market will be Ragnarok Online, okay, etc., etc. Next, we have SLI, or Scalable Link Interface. So NVIDIA takes the lead in 2005 for the first time since 2002 by releasing their GeForce 7 series. They released SLI, a new technology that made it possible to hook up two graphics cards for double the performance. Let's say, for example, you're playing a GPU intensive game. So instead of having a single graphics card, you can use two graphics card and combine the processing power of those GPUs using SLI, or Scalable Link Interface. So what this does is it combines the processing power of these two graphics card, okay, to perform to your heavy intensive game. Games of 2006. Doom 3's predecessor was released and named Prey. So a new strategy game called Company of Heroes was also released, and it was one of the most realistic war games ever created in terms of graphics and game. Okay, so this is a screenshot of the game Company of Heroes. In 2006, AMD released their FX60 strictly for gamers. So Intel released a dual-core chip that ran at a 3.73 GHz. Later on, the AMD released a dual-core FX62. This is 2006. So during 2006 into 2007, both companies will have released quad-core microprocessors. Okay? So now, let's proceed, guys, with the modern day gaming PC parts and peripherals that you'll be needing for building a gaming computer. Okay, that you can use for playing video games, or for playing PC games, or if you want to play console games on your computer to run emulators and to play those console games. So here are some of the components that you'll be needing to build or to have in order for you to build a personal computer that can play PC games. First, you'll be needing your CPU, your motherboard, your memory or your RAM, your storage devices, such as your hard drive or your SSDs or solid-state drives. You'll also be needing the most important part of your personal computer for gaming will be your graphics card or your GPU. You'll also be needing your power supply and, of course, your cooling, such as fans, CPU coolers, etc., etc. Okay, so first, let's start. So what is a central processing unit? So top-end gaming computer often feature Intel i5 or i7 processors with up to 8 cores. Okay, so Intel Core i5 processor seems to sit right in the sweet spot for of power and affordability for gaming. So processors that have model numbers that end with K, like the i5 6600K and Core i7 8700K, are unlocked and are capable of being overclocked. So if you want to build your computer, guys, if you're selecting the Intel side, you'll be needing at least an i5 or an i7. So it's up to you which version are you going to use. So is it i5 or is it i7? Now, in selecting your processors, make sure to take note of the ending letters of your processor. So for desktop computers, you'll be seeing either it's a K version or non-K version. This K represents that processor is overclockable, meaning you can increase its capacity and capability by adding more electricity or wattage onto your processor, making it work a lot more faster. Okay? So I suggest if you want to build your gaming computer, you select either Core i7 or i5 from Intel. Or if you're going AMD, choose at least Ryzen 5 or Ryzen 7 for your processor. And for the motherboard, so it determines the chipset and the processor the computer can use. So gaming motherboards will have up to 64 GB of DDR4 RAM supports, multiple PCIe slots, SLI, or Crossfire support. Crossfire is the AMD version of SLI. So multiple USB 3.1 ports, good audio driver, and multiple SATA ports. So have a good voltage regulator module for stable overclocking. So let's continue. Next, we have your memory or your RAM. So fast temporary storage for games. So it's either you'll be using 32 to 64 GB preferred for high-end gaming PC. So if you'll be playing mid-range games, I believe 16 GB of RAM will suffice. So single, dual, and quad channel RAM. So just check which is more optimal on your usage. It will vary depending on the motherboard that you'll be using. So some motherboards will only support 2 slots for your RAM, 4 slots, or some will support 8 slots for your RAM. So select DDR4 over DDR3. So DDR4 have faster clock speeds, meaning faster or more frame rates for your games. DDR4 base clock is 2133 MHz up to 5000 MHz. So Ryzen builds prefer faster clock speeds. Next, you'll be having your graphics processing unit or your GPU or your video card. So one of the most important part of your gaming PC does most of the processing of the graphics for your games. Okay, so the quality of your game, the frame rates, okay, will depend on the processor and also in your GPU. So if you want to play high resolution games, what you're going to do is you need to pick up a high-end CPU or processor and a high-end GPU, okay, to have the maximum performance. So higher GPU cores, base clocks, boost clocks, memory clock, and memory bandwidth is important. So overclockability is plus. So what is overclocking or overclockability? Meaning, guys, you can increase the speed of the performance for this component. So by adding additional voltage or wattage onto your component, making it work a lot more faster. So that capability will allow you to increase the performance of your personal computer into several games. Next, storage. So regarding storage, if you're playing your games, okay, if you want your games to load faster, SSD is the best solution for storage. It's either you'll be using a 2.5-inch form factor, mSATA, or M.2 form factor. So for M.2, we have two form factors, again, below M.2. It's either a SATA or an NVMe form factor. So higher the capacity, the better. So the higher the transfer speed, the better. So stable read and write speed is important for your games. If you want your games to load faster, then use SSD. If you want to store more games or a lot of games on your personal computer, then you'll be using hard disk drive, because SSD is much pricier as compared to SSD. But SSDs will have smaller capacities but higher read and write speeds as compared to HDD or hard disk drive that will have large capacity but slower reads and writes. Next, power supply unit. So the power the power needed by the gaming computer. So reliability of the PSU is utmost important. So ratings from 80 plus bronze to 80 plus titanium, preferably 80 plus gold, for a good balance of price and reliability. So factor and capacity are always to consider. So for your power supply units, here are the ratings that you can choose. The lowest rating that you can have for your power supply unit will be 80 plus bronze, and the highest rating will be 80 plus titanium. So if you want to build a PC gaming, it is advised to at least get the 80 plus bronze. But if you want stable and reliable power supply unit, you must have the 80 plus golds. Cooling systems. Maintain the temperature of the CPU and GPU and the system unit itself. So liquid cooling system are best for gaming PC utilizing overclocking. Make sure to check the compatibility of CPU socket mounting parts and system unit cases. So this is an example of your cooling system. So this is what we call AIO cooling. So you'll be using this one to cool down your processor. Okay. Next, we have the third platform for our game. So the third one will be the mobile gaming platform. So first, let's start with mobile games. These are games designed for mobile devices, such as smartphones, feature phones, pocket PCs, personal digital assistants or PDAs, tablet PCs, and portable media players. So mobile games range from basic like Snake on older Nokia phones to sophisticated 3D and augmented reality games. Okay. Um, Here are some of the examples for your mobile games. You have Genshin Impact, Civilization 6 Mobile, Among Us, PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty Mobile, Minecraft Pocket Edition, Evoland 2, Sin o Alice. So, as I've mentioned earlier, some of these games are cross-platform, meaning you can play them on different platforms. Let's say, for example, Genshin Impact. You can play Genshin Impact using your mobile phone, or you can also play this one using a personal computer. So this is an example of your cross-platform game. Same as with Among Us. You can play this using a personal computer, or you can play this using a mobile phone. So a brief history of mobile games. So the first mobile game. So the first true portable mobile device came along the early 90s. So first commercially available mobile games are Tetris and Snake. So these games were basically available from Nokia phones way back in the 90s. So mobile phones advanced so much as mobile gaming where games with color became available like Bounce. So this is the game Bounce. Okay. So next, the first mobile game. So Nokia attempted in creating a gaming phone through its Nokia Engage. In 2008, Apple App Store and the Android market, which is currently known as Google Play Store, became the main source of downloadable games for mobile devices. So game had better art, controls, sound, and high-definition graphics. So here are some of the example of casual games that you can currently play using your mobile phones nowadays. So we have Angry Birds, Plants vs. Zombies, Fruit Ninja, and Temple Run. Then we have the mobile gaming meteoric rise. So here are some of the reasons why gaming platform became the number one gaming platform. Mobile gaming platform became the number one gaming platform. So mobile gaming became a norm around 2013 or 2014, the era of Clash of Clans and the rise of heavy games like the Dungeon Hunter and Asphalt series. Mobile gaming became a strong platform when the components became more powerful and more affordable. So Qualcomm's mid-range powerhouse Snapdragon 600 chips and MediaTek's Helio processor reach affordable price tags. More and more consumers got to enjoy better mobile gaming through these improvements. So flagship components reach mid-range phone like Honor Play and Poco F1. So Poco F1 is what we call the flagship killer way back in 2018 because it only costs 16,000 pesos, but the CPU that was used for this phone was the top of the line Snapdragon 655. Okay. Entry into the esports scene. So esport is now huge and widely recognized even in the mobile landscape. MOBA are top contributors to the esports scene with Dota 2 and League of Legends leading the way for PC. For mobile gaming platforms has titles that mimic the success of the aforementioned titles such as Mobile Legends and Arena for Valor. Taking the number one spot, Stigma, the mobile game can't offer a true gaming experience akin to what PCs and console game. For the longest time, PC and consoles shared the majority of earnings of the gaming market. So part of why PCs and consoles have earnings in because most of their games are bought. Mobile games earn through microtransactions and the reason why pay-to-win concept was born. Okay, so basically guys, there is a stigma regarding gamers that says that games that are played using mobile phones are not truly games. Okay? There is that stigma. But nowadays, games that are available for PCs and console will have almost same quality of games that you can have from mobile games. Okay? So, nowadays, there won't be any stigma that a true gamer should only play PC games. No. If you're a gamer, you'll be playing games regardless of what platform you're using. Okay? Some of the games uh, will have cross-platform versions. Okay? Like PUBG, you can play them using PCs. You can also play them using mobile. They will have the same mechanics. Okay? Same goals, etc., etc., but a different platform. Okay? Next, we have 2018 global games market share. So, in 2018, guys, mobile games generated $70.3 billion dollars, or it has the 51% of the global market. Okay? So, that will be for the mobile game. So, for the PC, it has $32.9 billion dollars. Okay? Or equivalent to 24% of the game market. Then, for console, it has $34.6 billion dollars, or 25% of the games market. So, as you can see, guys, the data from 2018 states that mobile games compose of 51% of the global market earnings from games. Okay? So, that's it. I believe mobile games already overtook the game market sales way back in 2018 and up until now. Then we have our last topic for today. So that will be, here are some of the list of top game development companies that you can see in the market today. So first, we have Electronic Arts, or you're familiar with EA Games or EA Sports. So EA is popular for providing digital interactive entertainment services. So it works on the games, content, and online services for internet-connected consoles and mobile devices and personal computers. More than 300 million players are registered with EA. So it was founded in 1982 and currently has employees around 5,000 to 10,000 employees, and its revenue will be $5.15 billion. So core services will be video games, mobile games, console games development, and publishing. So the popular games by the company are here. So we have FIFA 20, Apex Legends, Madden, NFL 20, etc., etc. Next, we also have Nintendo. So I believe some of you are familiar with Nintendo. So initially, when Nintendo was founded in 1989, it was creating handmade Hanafuda playing cards. So then it worked in various ventures like cab services. In the 1970s, it started working as a video game company. In 1977, it started creating its hardware. Nintendo has offices in Washington and California. So it was founded in 1889. Employees were around 1,000 to 5,000 employees, and its revenue is 1.201 trillion yen. So core services will be gaming systems and games. Popular games by the company will be Ultimate Alliance 3, Fire Emblem, Pokemon Sword, and Pokemon Shield, etc. Next, we have Ubisoft from Paris, France. So Ubisoft is a video gaming company that has expertise in publishing games for several video game franchises. According to the market size and revenue, it is the fourth largest company in US and Europe. Ubisoft has 40 development studios. So it was founded in 1986. Its employees will be more than 10,000. So its revenue is 1.7 billion euros. So core services will be video game design, development, production, and marketing, online programming. So popular games by the company will be Gods and Monsters, Watch Dogs, Legion, Rainbow Six Siege Quarantine, For Honor, Tom Clancy's The Division 2, etc. Next, we have Sony Interactive System from Tokyo, Japan. Sony Interactive Entertainment. Sony Interactive Entertainment Incorporation was originally Sony Computer Entertainment. Its prime purpose was handling video game development for PlayStation. So, it works on research and development, production, and sales of hardware as well as software for the PlayStation gaming system. So, it performs research, development, and the sale of PlayStation hardware, software, content, and network services. So, it was founded in 1993 and has employees ranging from 5,000 to 10,000. So the revenue for gaming and network services is around $20.84 billion. So core services will be online games, PC games, and PS3 games. Gaming systems like PlayStations, game development, etc., etc. Popular games by the company will be Spider-Man, The Last of Us, God of War, Ratchet and Clank, etc. Next, we have Activision Blizzard from California, USA. So this standalone interactive company has achieved an entertainment network of almost 500 million monthly active users. It serves the services to users in 196 countries. It is one of Fortune's 100 best companies to work for. So 5 operating units of Activision Blizzards are Activision, Blizzard Entertainment, King Digital Entertainment, Major League Gaming, and Activision Blizzard Studios. So it was founded in 2008 and have employees of more than 9,000 employees. So its revenue will be $7.5 billion. The core services of the company will be developing, distributing, and publishing interactive entertainments for gaming consoles, mobile, and tablets, and PCs, developing games for mobiles. So popular games by the company will be Candy Crush Saga, Overwatch, Call of Duty, etc. Next, we have Epic Games. So Epic Games was previously known as Potomac Computer System. From 1992 to 1999, it was known as Epic Mega Games Incorporation. It developed softwares, video games, and the Unreal Engine. So Epic's internally developed video games powered by the commercially available game engine. So it was founded in 1991, have employees around 200 to 500 employees. Its revenue will be $1 billion. Its core services will be development of software, video games, and the Unreal Engine. So popular games by the company will be Fortnite Chapter 2, Borderlands 3, Zombie Army, and etc. Next, we have Gameloft. So worldwide, Gameloft has 19 development studios. It is more focused on mobile games. It supports iPhone, Android mobile, iPad, Android tablet, Mac, Nokia HD, and Xbox. Millions of Gameloft's games are getting downloaded every day. So it was founded in 1999, has employees that ranges from 5,000 to 10,000. Its revenue is $15.6 billion. Popular games, core services will be strictly mobile games creation. So popular games by the company will be March of Empires, Disney Magic Kingdoms, Disney Princess Magic Quest, Asphalt series, etc. Next, we have Square Enix. Square Enix Corporation was formed as a result of the merge of Enix Corporation and Squaresoft. Square Enix is the provider of the popular games like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. It has sold more than 10 million copies for many of the games. So it was founded in 1975. Employees will range from 1,000 to 5,000. Its revenues is 256.8 billion Japanese yen. So its core services will be video game development, publishing, and distribution. So popular games by the company will be Final Fantasy, Marvel, Avenger, Builders 2, etc. Okay, so that will be it for this module 2, guys. So if you have questions regarding this module 2, kindly comment them down in the comment box in our Edmodo class. Again, do not comment on the YouTube link or in the YouTube video. Leave your questions on our Edmodo post. I'll be answering them as soon as I see them. Okay? After watching this video, you can now proceed to the assessment for Module 2. Good luck for the assessment and thank you.